Hey, Bernard.
Hey, Steve. How are you?
Doing well, man. How are you?
I am very good.
Good. You hear me all right?
Yes. Yeah.
Nice.
Hear you very well.
Good. I got it set up.
Uh,
I'm watching the Mount and Texas Southern right now in the background. 2-point game at 2 minutes.
which mount is that?
The one in Emmitsburg, Maryland.
Oh, I thought so. I didn't think it was the one up by me.
Yeah. No, this one's actually only where I grew up, like 45 minutes where I grew up.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So it's a beautiful campus. So
We're letting them all in now, so she'll be coming in.
cool. Yeah, I may have to duck out a little early, like 8:15, depending on how late it goes, to meet up with the dog for a dog.
Oh, no worries. You gotta handle business.
Exactly. So,
Hey, Smush, how are you? Smush, can you hear me?
Want to go out?
Tom O'Connor, how are you, sir?
Good, Bernard. Thank you for the invite.
Absolutely. We're going to start in about 2 minutes. Just want
That's
to get
fine. No problem.
Okay.
Good evening, all. Mr. B. How you doing, man?
Hey, how you doing, Tom?
Okay.
Good.
Hey, how are you, Bernard?
I'm good. How are you, sir?
Good. Just walking back to my girlfriend's spot.
Just make sure you don't hold no conversations with me while you're going to be with her.
Yeah, absolutely.
She gets priority.
For sure.
And I'm telling you this at a young age, so when you get older, you know how.
Most definitely, Bernard, for sure. She's supportive.
Right, Tony?
Absolutely.
He knows what Thursday nights at 7 is all about.
Okay. Danielle, welcome.
Hey there, Bernard.
I got your message the other day, and thank you.
No problem. We're off tonight, so I said I got to tune in.
Yeah, that's great. Dennis West, how are you, sir?
All is well, B.
Blessings.
How you, Bernard?
Reggie Gardner, how are you, sir?
How you doing?
I am blessed, man.
Good.
Thank you for joining.
Oh yeah, no problem.
And your support as always, man. We're going to start.
Referee partner.
I know that's right. We're going to be starting in 1 minute to be exact, and then we'll get started. We got some great information for us tonight. I don't see Larry Lasser here yet.
Hey, can you hear me?
Yes.
Good evening. You might see me signed in twice. I'm having issues signing into my computer. I'm on my iPad right now.
Okay.
So I'm just trying to get my computer set up.
All right, no worries.
Hello and good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Mr. B.
Hello. Mr.
Hey,
Lasser.
Renee.
Mr. Lasser will be in a minute and then we'll get started. Steve, are you there?
Yep, I'm here.
Okay, cool. All right, good evening, everyone. We're going to get ready to get started. Thank you all for taking your time out this evening. My name is Bernard Bowen. I am the member of Board 42 in the Educational Committee. One of my co-partners on the committee, I believe, is on Dennis West. Are you there?
I'm here.
Would you like to say a hello and a few words?
Good evening to everyone. We appreciate you tuning in to Board 42. We're trying to get out some information to new officials and some of the older officials. So it's always good to be in the presence of good people and to hear good information. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Our engineer for the evening, again, is my co-host on these shows, has been Ralph Benolis. Ralph, would you say a few words?
Good evening, everybody. Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Yep.
I apologize. I'm in a loud place, but always a pleasure to do this with
Bernard, can
Bernard.
you see me okay? Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, Larry. We can't see, we just see your, there you go.
Yeah, we can see this. Now we
Perfect.
see you. Very excited for the guests that are on. A lot of useful information. Always a pleasure to do this with you, Bernard. Thank you, Bernard.
Awesome. Thank you. Okay, we're going to get started. First and foremost, I would love to just sit here and just say thank you to two gentlemen and take a moment of silence for two young men who have left us and went home to be with God. Donald Douglas, the executive director of PSAL in New York, passed away, and Gregory Sanders, a Board 42 member, have passed away. So with that being said, let's take a moment of silence. Thank you all, and blessings to them and their families. God bless them. Tonight, we have a great show, great informational program that we have lined up for you with some special guests. We got an additional special guest that I love and has helped me to grow and be who I am in the referee community. He's going to be coming on. He is on with us right now. But to kick us off, we got Steve Gleich. And I may have pronounced the last name incorrectly. He is and you're laughing at me, Steve. So don't beat me up.
It's all good. I've heard them all.
Okay. Steve is just someone who's been very supportive since we started out with all of this a year ago. Been on, he brought his dad on. His dad is the older gentleman who's been officiating for years. Jumped into it, and Steve and he's not the referee. His brother's a Division I official, and his sister-in-law is an NBA official. But he is in the financial world, such as myself, along with all the other things that I try to get involved with. And Steve did something that I thought would be very advantageous to this body of folks to have some information that may be able to assist us or share this information with somebody who may need assistance regarding PPP. So Steve, would you go ahead and break it down and give us some information? And again, if anyone would like any of the information that he's going to talk about, please feel free to email me and we will get everything out to you. But Steve, take it away.
Thanks, Bernard. Hey guys, thanks for just listening. I just want to take you really quickly through, I'm sure you guys have heard of it. One of the federal governments is called the PPP. It's the Payroll Protection Plan. They've done a few tiers of it, or I guess a few drafts of it. The last one, the third one, just happened here in January. But the first one happened last year, and it was mainly, again, to help these small businesses who were suffering during the COVID shutdown. The government was providing money in the form of a grant. Again, if it was used for the correct purposes, it was going to be returned in full. It's basically you don't have to pay it back. So initially, it was used for these smaller businesses, small companies, things like that. The second round, which again, in our world, doesn't really help. So what I do is, again, Bernard said I work in finance, but I also have a small little business is where I kind of got into this. And as you said, my brother, father, sister-in-law, they're all referees. So I've been around basketball since I can walk. But basically what happened is this PPP, which stands for Payroll Protection Program, the government put $250 billion in this fund that is meant to help people, smaller businesses initially survive the COVID pandemic. So as they released the second round here in, basically starting, I think, early February, late January.
Bernard, I don't know why I can see everybody, but I'm not getting any sound at all. Probably, I don't know if you can hear me. Can you hear me okay?
I can hear
I don't
you.
know
We
if
can
it's
hear you.
anything on
We
my
can hear
end.
you.
I conduct enough of these Zoom meetings, I just can't seem to. Okay, well, that's good. Well, I'm glad everybody can hear me. I can't hear anybody, so I don't know what it is. I'm not muted.
Can
Yeah,
you
maybe
try?
I do that. Okay,
can
let me
Bernard-
go out
Bernard,
and I'll come
you
back,
know
and I
it?
apologize for this, okay? I'll
Larry,
I'll
try to
dive
try
out
to
right now and I'll come right back in, okay, Bernard?
yeah, try that.
Okay, thank you.
All good.
I'm so
Cool.
sorry. All good.
No, it's all good. So basically I wanted to talk because the second round, what they did is they opened it up to independent contractors. So what I've learned is that a lot of referees outside of the NBA, college, high school, middle school, every other age group essentially are independent contractors. So what I did is I did a little bit of research on it, and I was able to get myself basically a loan, as they call it a loan, but essentially it's a loan that you don't have to pay back as long as you use it correctly. I was able to get myself, my father, and my brother got one as well. So and again, the thing is about these is that the deadline to submit these is as of now, March 31st. So if you guys are interested in this, I would kind of get on the ball and I'll go in a few minutes just to kind of how to do it really quickly. But the deadline is March 31st. Congress is really pushing hard to get it extended because they allocated $250 billion. They have over $100 billion left. So there's a ton of money left out there. It's a little bit tricky to kind of make you jump through hoops, make sure you have all your, kind of paperwork in order, ducks in a row and things like that. But if you get it, what it's meant to do is it's basically meant to supplement you from not being able to referee, not being able to work, not being able to referee last year. So if you made $1,000 in 2019 refereeing, obviously, none of us really made anything in 2020. Everything was closed. So you're able to, kind of submit that and supplement that income. You can get a full loan as long as it's used in the right way. And so again, as most of the guys on this call are going to be independent contractors, basically what you can use all of it to supplement your income. So it's fairly straightforward to do. You basically have to submit a little bit of paperwork. Anyone who's eligible is, again, these sole proprietors who, as long as you filed in 2019 a 1040 form, 1040 Schedule C, which is essentially the independent contractor form that, most people who are independent contractors submit. So my hope is that as long as you have one of those, essentially you can apply for this loan. Now, whether you get it or not, is to be determined, but essentially if you apply, there's a pretty good chance right now, because again, there's a decent amount of money. It seems to be that from what I've read, a lot of people who wanted it early, a lot of those bigger businesses got it early on, and now it's really left for a lot of the smaller companies. And when I say companies, I mean independent contractors where it's really just one person. It also works if you set up an LLC, to where if you're the owner of the company, again, if it's just you, same thing. It basically works in that exact same way. As long as you use it as essentially payroll, so you're paying yourself, you can supplement your income and get some type of grant. The other key, besides submitting this form, you have to have been a referee in February 15th of last year, 2020. So I'm guessing, most of you guys on here, girls and girls, guys and girls were. Lastly, you have to have shown, again, this is where the IRS paperwork comes in, that you had a 25% drop in income from 2019 to 2020. So being that, I don't know, I know Pennsylvania was a little bit open where my father's from. He had 2 or 3 games this year, but I know New York, I don't believe is open. So my guess is that your income dropped to nearly zero in terms of, making money from the refereeing world. So as long as you drop from 25%, you guys should be applicable for it. In terms of actually qualifying, it's a pretty simple calculation the way they do it. They essentially use your gross income. And so this is a change that we just made. And essentially you take your adjusted gross income. Again, all this stuff's going to be on your 1040 form. And, again, after this, if anyone's interested, I have a few examples I can show, things like that. But you're going to take this number on your 1040 form, which is say $1,000. Say you made $1,000 last year or 2019 from referee. You divide that number by 12, and then you multiply it by 2.5. So that's the amount of money you're eligible to get. So, if you made $1,000, you're going to get divided by 12. I don't know, like $80, something like that. So you're going to get, just $200. But if you made a lot of money refereeing the last year or so, like it could actually turn out to be a decent amount of money, a good chunk of change. And again, you're using it, the government's subsidizing it. So as long as you're using it for your payroll, you don't have to pay it back. As long as you apply for forgiveness, which I'll talk about for a moment later. In terms of getting it, I'll send Bernard, he can send it out. There's a few good websites. The Small Business Administration portal, I'll send that out. That has a link of different banks. You have to go through your bank to get this. That's the other thing. So you can either go through your bank, like if you have a bank, a local bank is probably easier than like a national one, like the Bank of America. They're still doing it, but if you have like a regional bank, like I don't even know, like Apple Bank was here in New York. I don't even know if that exists, but something like that. I have M&T, which is more regional, so I was able to get it more quickly through M&T. So you're gonna actually go through your bank. But what you do is you just apply online. You just Google PPP, whatever your bank is called, and it'll take you right to the submission. And again, if you guys have any questions, I can help you do that as well. It's probably, if your paperwork's together, it shouldn't take you any more than an hour. If your paperwork's not together, again, it should only take 2-3 hours. So, it's something that could be worth it if, you can get a decent amount of money just to kind of help subsidize last year's, really lost year. The other thing you can do with some of the banks, again, when they change the rule, they allow you to get this gross income. They ask you to open, I don't have a business account. My father doesn't have a business account. A lot of people don't have a business account. So what they do is some of the lenders allow you to open it, even if you don't have an account with them. Other ones require you to set up this kind of, it's called a sole prop account. And what it is, it's meant to be a business account, but it's really business for independent contractors. There's no charge to open it up. You have to have a $5 minimum or $10 minimum, most of them. And what they'll do is they'll then deposit the money into that account. So if worst case, again, my father, I was able to do it directly into my personal account. My dad, I had to open up an account at his local bank. Again, it took 5 minutes. He showed his license. There's no tax ID, none of those things. He showed his driver's license with his social security number from his tax form, and it was open within 10 minutes. They deposited the money and he got it. So again, your local bank's probably going to be your best. If your local bank doesn't offer it, there's a few websites I can list as well. Something like you go to Small Business Administration, you can Google it. They offer these sites. You can just do all of it online. Lendio is another site. Again, I have a list of websites. I'll send over to Bernard. He can share it. And I saw someone just pop something up. So it looks like Sylvia just commented. So it looks like they did extend it to May 31st, which is great. My guess is that they have so much money left over. What they did is initially you had to do it from your net income. So, you have your gross income. Your net income could be much, much lower based on all of your taxes and expenditures and things like that you deduct. By changing it to your gross, you can actually get a lot more money, which is great. So anyone who hasn't applied is actually in a better shape personally, in what I believe. So again, like just in that example, if you made $5,000 refereeing in 2019, you take this formula, it's very simple, divide it by 12, multiply it by 2.5, you could get 1,041, give or take. And again, as long as you can show that on your tax form, that's what you would apply for, and that's what you would get. Now, say you get this loan, the second key to it is basically asking for full forgiveness. Now, again, any of us can get this full forgiveness as long as it's used as an independent contractor. You can essentially pay yourself. So, you don't have employees, you don't have things like that. So you would essentially be paying yourself. If you're willing to get one, the way I've done it is I've just kind of taken a monthly stipend or a weekly stipend out as if I'm paying myself. just sticking into like my personal checking account, just because you have to physically apply for this forgiveness. Again, it's a one-page doc online. You apply for it. You can get full forgiveness. And what that does is you don't have to pay anything back. So essentially it's a free, they call it a loan, but it's basically a stipend from the government. Worst case scenario, if you wind up using it for something else, you could pay it back. You would have to pay it back in full at 1% interest. So nobody I've spoken with though who has gotten this is I'd actually pay it back as long as they've used it properly. Again, that's kind of it. I mean, is all you, again, for the documents, is all you really need. You need the 1040 Schedule C. You need your either a driver's license, state ID, something like that that shows who you are. And then some of them have this, you need a copy of a bank account, just so it shows, that you have had money, like you received money from, I guess, I'm not sure what New York is. Pennsylvania's the PIAA. So they showed you received money from the PIAA. New York, Bernard, you may know, like Bball or I know that's some of the high school referee things. So you just have to show, PSAL. So you just have to show, you may need to show that. I didn't, my dad didn't, my brother did. So it's all kind of up to each individual bank. But again, it's worth the effort. Again, it shouldn't take you any more than like an hour or two. It's all legitimate. It comes from the government. You actually have to, show your government tax papers. And it's a good way to just kind of get some money to supplement, last year as a lost year. And again, once you have the money in your hand, you can use it for, again, just to pay your anything. You could pay your month's bills, things like that. So it's a nice government subsidy. And again, the first few rounds is really more for those smaller businesses under 300 employees. This last round, they opened up to the independent contractors, which for us is a huge benefit because that's where, we're not going to ask for $50,000 like a small business. We'll ask for a few thousand based on what you make. But it comes in handy. It's great. So again, I have a one-page printout. I'm happy to share that. I'll send it over to Bernard. He's happy to share it. There's some websites on there. So I know I went through it kind of quickly, but it is, again, a pretty straightforward process once you actually see it in front of you. So, and again, like it's worked for me. I don't want to make it sound as simple as it is. Like I got it. My brother and father all got it. They're all the same, they're referees. So it's something that I know they give out to the refereeing world. And it's just something to look into. So, I mean, thanks. If you guys have any questions, obviously let Bernard know, let me know. And we can I'm happy to walk you guys through it. I'm happy to chat with you guys, take you through it. Again, if you have your paperwork in order, it shouldn't take more than an hour, maybe 2 hours. And the last thing is when you do it, if you do it, just stay aggressive with the bank. Like if you do apply, there's a number on there, call them, follow up and just make sure. Sometimes it takes 1 or 2 days. My dad took 2 weeks. All the banks are different. Just follow up with them. Call the person on the phone, just say, hey, here's my number. Is it still being processed? Things like that. And then lastly, again, if you do get it, follow up with us. Make sure you fill out the forgiveness. Because if you don't fill out the forgiveness, ultimately you have to pay it back. Filling it out essentially makes us a stipend that you don't have to pay back. So again, it just helps everyone get through the year.
Great, Steve. Thank you. Thank you so much for all the information, and we appreciate you. It just shows that that you don't have to be a referee to give feedback to a referee meeting. And you know what I mean? So that information is valuable to all of us. Again, if there is interest or someone would like to inquire, I will have a copy of it. I do have some of the information now already, but we will get that out. But if you are interested, send me an email. And then at least this way we know that we're taking it. We're not trying to push anybody to do anything that you don't want to do, but it's something that we thought would be informational, and we wanted to make sure that we shared it with the referee community. There was a question. Yes.
Hi, this is Sylvia. I'm sorry. I'm in a room. My room's kind of junky. I don't have my video on. I apologize.
No worries.
All right. I applied for it. Like he said, it's out there. The biggest thing about the PPP, you could also get the IELD loans, another loan out there also you can get as an independent contractor. But the PPP is the one that you see, he said, can be fully forgiven. If you have been doing your paperwork properly, I'm not too sure how people do their paperwork, but in Texas, we get a 1099 when we're a referee. And when you file your taxes properly, you're supposed to do a Schedule C with the 1099. And that's the form that they use for the new PPP is the Schedule C. I think I put in the chat they used to use line 31, and when they use 31, a lot of people didn't qualify. So they changed the rules, and now they're
Line
using line 7, right?
Right.
And so now it's your gross income. So majority of referees, if they file so some people don't file their taxes properly. So without the Schedule C, you won't be eligible for it. So you need to have a Schedule C, and you can use your 2019 taxes. You don't have to wait for your 2020 to be filed. And most of the people are going by the 2019. I saw that in the chat. Somebody asked that question. So yes, go by your 2019 taxes.
Right.
And I would personally wait on the 2020 because they're changing so many tax laws right now and forgiving so much income until they actually get it all passed through law. I would wait to file my 2020 taxes, especially as your independent contractor.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Thank you, Sylvia. I appreciate you. Sylvia, can you email me anyway so that you and I can talk a little bit? Because I'm going to be doing something with the other as well, and I need both of your support. So please give me an email later on. So I'm sorry about interrupting this night. But one thing I want to say is there was another question that was out there, and as Sylvia just basically stated, nobody's really doing 2020 taxes that quickly this year, right? Because all the laws are being changed. But if you were a first year official and if you received a 1099 and it was in 2020 and you haven't really applied, I don't know too many people that had independent contractors working. Now you could have worked January and February of last year and you're doing your Schedule C this year and you wanted to do your taxes, then go ahead and do it. But that's just something for us to think about. And I don't see the name that went with that question. So if you do, if you want to send me an email, I'll be happy to go through it with you. And if I can guide you and then direct you in any direction, I will absolutely do that. With further ado, our next special guest, all the way up from the New Englands, Larry Lass from the New England College Officiating Camp. Larry and I go way back. We was clinicians together up at Hoop Mountain. And knowing Larry's been doing a lot of great things up in the New England area. And I've just been out of touch with it a little bit myself. And I saw him at the Bball conference, not last year, but the year before. And I'm happy that we reconnected, and I'm happy to bring him on to give him an opportunity to talk about, because our goal here at Board 42 especially is to get the referees trained enough to go to camps so they can get additional training with the hopes, and I spoke to Larry about this already, with the hopes of getting introduced to these other camps and networking and getting referred to go to other camps as possibly a tryout camp or additional training camps. But we want to have that relationship, and we want to see a lot of our officials from the, right here in the metropolitan area get an opportunity to go up. So I reached out to Larry. Larry said yes. And Larry, would you come on and say hello and tell us a little bit about yourself and what board you on and all that kind of stuff?
Absolutely, Bernard. Can you hear me okay? That's the most important thing.
Yes, sir.
You can. Before I begin, I want to thank you, Bernard. It's so good to speak with you this past week and catch up. We do go way back. I think we've shown a little bit of our age, but with that, I think we've got a lot of experience too with trying to help officials. And I think we've traveled the road that these guys would like to hear. That being said, I've been on board 27 out of the Boston area for the past 45 years. I've been a college official for 35 years, retired from officiating 5 years ago. I've been I was hired by the Eastern Collegiate Athletic Conference 13 years ago to begin as a coordinator, and then was hired to take on their basketball operations on their officiating bureau. It's something that I have a passion for, not because signing is something that everybody should want to do. It's a very difficult job with a lot of anxiety. But the purpose for me taking that job was because I thought I wanted to try to change a culture. I'll give you fellows an example of that. You're all from, I imagine, the greater New York area, maybe some from New Jersey, but certainly south of the Connecticut border, I'm going to guess. That being said, prior to me coming on, officials from New York never worked in New England and vice versa. There were these geographical borders, and it really was because of a lack of communication and cooperation with coordinators. And I always thought it has to begin somewhere. Fortunately, I have just a wonderful friendship and relationship with Jack Sweeney and Timmy McAleer, Tommy Reinich, Mike Kitts, Donnie Epley, Tim Ebersol. I mean, it goes on. And that being said, we all share a lot of the same officials. My staff in New England, there are 175 officials. Please keep in mind, and I'll get to camps in a minute, but I was trying to give a little background here. There are 175 officials on our New England College officiating staff. But keep in mind, on one of the busiest days of a college week is Saturday, although we play all 7 days of the week. But Saturday, everybody in America is playing. On an average Saturday, I have 45 basketball games being played. I know you can all do the math and come up with the fact that I'm going to need an awful lot of officials on a Saturday afternoon. And that's the reason for a staff as large as it is. That being said, I have approximately, I think I have 28 officials from New York that are on my staff. So for me, I don't care whether an official is from New York or Boston or Bangor, Maine, or Detroit, Michigan, or Houston, Texas. If they want to work basketball, I'm going to put officials in game, and I don't care who you are, what you know, where you live, what you look like. I want to give people opportunity. And how do you do that? Because most coordinators, all coordinators just pick staffs. We all just pick our staff. I can do whatever I want to do, as any coordinator will. They pick officials they want in their staff. How I do it, and this is where we come to camp. I wanted to create a camp that really you and every official, not what I'm saying, but you could go home and realize and go, geez, there's a lot of integrity here. This is the way I'd like to do it. It doesn't matter that I'm the only guy from New York City, or the only guy from Bangor, Maine, or the only guy from Detroit, Michigan that's at this camp. It doesn't matter geographically where I live. If I'm one of the best officials, rated by 25 different observers. So what I do is I bring in 25 observers to my camp that begins every year in April. I did not run any camp last year. This year, I'm not going to run it again in April. I'm now moving to possibility of doing it in July. And that's a big if, depending on the landscape of COVID and so forth. But with that said, these 25 observers, all respected, some from New York, some from Maine, some from Boston, some from Connecticut. I really try to have a diverse group. And each and every one of my observers has the same weight in the observation, the evaluation that they give you. We'll take Keith Murray, for example. Let's say, Keith, you're at camp. You're observed by a lot of different observers. So let's say, Keith, I think, please, this is all hypothetical, but let's say I've rated you very high. But one of my observers in Bernard, let's say, is one of them. And Bernard is somebody I really like to have at camp because he's so good at what he does. And you will be hearing about that, Bernard, too. But let's say Bernard comes in and he rates you a 2. I've rated you a 5, and 10 other people have rated you everywhere, all over the place. The average of all those ratings goes into a program. The average, mind you, nobody carries any more weight than anybody else, myself included. The average of those ratings go into a rating process. And the top officials, I don't jump around. If you're number 1, you're taken. If you're number 2, that's the next guy taken. I don't go from number 1 to number 20 to number 14. It is not that way. It is the top rated officials brought in onto the staff, because I think that's how integrity is built. You can come, anybody can come, it doesn't matter. For example, Mike Stevens, a very close friend of mine, Jack Sweeney, good friends. If Jack or Mike said to me, hey, Larry, you got to take this guy, Steve Gleich, you got to take him. You got to take him on your staff. You know what? I respect Mike, I respect Jack, and I'll listen to him, but I'm not taking him on word alone, because that circumvents the whole process. If Keith Murray's coming to camp, okay, Zach Murphy's Parker and so many others are coming to camp, and I'm just taking somebody based on word of mouth. Why should you come to camp? What kind of integrity is behind that process? So now the individuals that Mike Stevens or Jack Sweeney provide me that they think I should consider, I invite them, and then they're just rated. And if they do well, fine. But if they don't, it isn't because Mike or Jack had a great word for them. You know what I mean? So that puts I think, some integrity that is really much needed in what we do. You just want to have an opportunity. I personally, don't want to do anything. I don't want to, there's no favoritism at all in what I try to do. And I think if you talk to some of your colleagues, I mean, I don't know if you know, I'm thinking of guys I've recently taken from the area, maybe Kevin Agee or Jason Kijik or Max Olivier. I'm trying to think of some guys. But, you can talk to anybody that's been, and I'd like to think that they're the ones you want to talk to, not me. Listen to what your peers say. That's how you find out whether any coordinator or anybody's, just giving you a sales pitch or they're telling you the truth. So with that said, I will tell you the process I have. I invite, it's an open, mind you, anyone can come to camp. It's open, it's wide open. It's not just instructional, it's developmental. So I'm trying to recruit, but that's not specifically the total reason for the camp. I'm also trying to work with the present officiating staff that I have on as well. I only will conduct my camp in a 5-star environment. In other words, any coordinator can start a camp anywhere. But for me, what matters is, it matters about the level of play. Any official can come in and run up and down the floor and watch players go up and down, usually player events, camps that involve just those players come to the camp. I'm looking for team environments. I'm looking for AAU type of team environments, those 5-star events where these teams play together all year long, where coaches are, got a lot of emotion, and it is a game environment that's going to challenge an official. Because I don't make judgments about any official watching one game, nor do I believe any of us should. Just because somebody looks good in one game, you have to see them over a body of work. You want to see the job that they do, because some guys work well with some officials. Some guys don't work as well with others. You need to see them a lot. So an average official that comes to my camp, works a minimum of probably somewhere between 8 and 18 basketball games on average. Now, that is just it. It begins normally in April. Officials come to my camp. All right. And by the way, I'm not looking to make money. There is no money here. There's a lot of bills that come with it. Each and every one of my observers is paid $200 a day. When you come to a camp like that, I put up a spreadsheet to show you every single expense that came into that camp. I think you should know that, because a lot of you pay a lot of money. You go to camps and you wonder, is it a moneymaker? I mean, where was the value here? And I'm not picking on camps or anything. I'm just saying how I conduct mine. I like transparency. So with that said, I have obviously every observer, and there's usually about 30 people on staff, because I have other people who do video and so forth. There's a lot of expense that goes into that, probably on average around $16,000. One of the bigger expenses is the insurance. I have to, some camps don't have to deal with that. I have to, every head count that I have, that's every observer, every camper, I have to then, there's a dollar value that goes into insurance for that. Meals, hotel rooms that I provide for my staff. There's quite an expense that goes to it. But remember, this isn't a moneymaker. So what I do is I scholarship a lot of people. I'm not interested in taking people's money. I do have to pay the bills, but at the same time, I'm not looking to make money. I'm just looking to make sure I can basically break as even as I can. So, that's the integrity part of it, trying to show you before each camp, how much money came into this camp. We have, let's say we have 90 campers. how many actually pay? You don't put the names, but many, a greater percentage come in on scholarship. I'm trying to help people. There's some, if anybody has hardship, I want to do that. I can't do it for everybody, but it's offered and I try to make every effort to do that. And then you go through working your games. I think you'd enjoy it. We have great classroom activity. There's a lot of dialogue. I conducted at a place in Hanover, Massachusetts in April under a normal traditional year. There are 8 basketball courts. The highest level of play at that time is in progress. There's a lot of basketball that's being played. We're working a lot. There's great facilities around the area, including the facility itself, a mega complex. There's restaurants in there, coffee shops, and a bar too. And I try to keep you out of there, certainly until we're off duty. But that being said, when you come to camp, unlike most camps where you go for a weekend, and I'm always trying to accommodate the campus schedule. So again, I'm sorry, Keith, I keep using you, but let's say Keith can only be there on a Saturday. And he says, geez, if I could get out of here by 3 o'clock, it'd be great. We work with that. We try to get that camp. We want to make and accommodate as best we can. You know, because everybody can't just run away from their job, their families, and whatever commitments you have to do that. So we try to accommodate that. But then keep this in mind. This camp has 3 components to it. So when you, in the cost to this camp in the past was $175. That's what a camper would pay to come. What does that do for you? It doesn't provide you a hotel room, although I get, I get those discounted rates and so forth, but you're not getting a hotel room. I do provide food on site, drinks and all kinds of snacks, a lot of that. You do get a dry fit shirt. I give everybody a dry fit, to something to go home with. And they're not those cheap, cotton shirts or those everyday shirts. It's a quality shirt, either Under Armour or usually I'm using Under Armour a lot now. But then what happens is when this Hanover weekend is over, then you're invited in July, each and every one of you, only you. Okay, those people that came to Camp Eagle, now you're invited in July. There's no cost now, you've already paid. This camp has 3 weekend components to it. And it's the weekend components in April and July. You follow me? And after those ratings are compiled, did every official take everything into account, comments, but the ratings numbers then go in and I look who they were. And all I do, it's very simple. Once that data is inputted, it's just boom, boom, boom. If I want 8 officials to bring on to the staff, it's the top 8. If I want to bring 15 on, it's the top 15. And that's how it's done. That's how the New England College Officiating Camp is run. There is a website that I use specifically for the camp. But anybody can contact me directly as well. But there's a camp, and I'll give it to Bernard. I'll send it to you, Bernard, the website.
Okay.
For that. I am not at this time, I don't have a date. I'm presently looking to work out in Springfield with the national, there's a national event with the basketball organization. They'll be held out at the Hall of Fame and out at Springfield College and Western New England University. That is presently scheduled for July 16th, 17th, and 18th. But that's a big if. I don't know. I am really taking this COVID day to day. I've had to deal with a lot this season. I assign here in the New England Collegiate Consortium. I'm responsible. There are 8 Division III conferences in New England. I assign those 8. Mike Stevens, who I had hired with the ECAC when I was with the ECAC, Mike just stepped away from the Division III side, and they wanted me to do that his 2 Division III conferences. Mike assigns the Northeast 10 conference only, and that's a wise decision for him. Mike's younger, and there's a lot of stress that goes into assigning in general. And Mike has a major Division I schedule, as I think most of you know, Mike should know. You won't see Mike in the NCAA tournament this year, by the way. Mike has got some cartilage damage to his knee that occurred in February. And so he won't be working this year if you were looking for him. But that being said, those 8 conferences, there are 72 schools within those 8 Division III conferences. But then I have 14 junior colleges in the Region 21. And then I only do, all the prep schools try to get me every year to do it. I'm not interested in just taking on a lot of work. I have to be able to take an official on, try to develop them. You don't just in the Amherst-Williams game or put them in, against Trinity and Wesleyan. You have to slowly give a guy an opportunity to not just get acclimated, but also not rush people. All of us officials want to do the Syracuse-Georgetown game, but God forbid we go into it too soon. Our whole careers could be ruined. So, I think we all coordinators should have should be patient with our officials too. We want to help you. We want to get you in games, but you got to do it carefully. How I do it, especially down in Connecticut, I have South Kent. I have Notre Dame Prep down in that region. That 2 prep schools that are I think helpful for some guys that just looking for a date to work. And then down in Connecticut, where a lot of the New York officials, I don't want to trust. When I tell you I can bring a guy on from Detroit, Phil, anywhere I want, I can. But let's be realistic. If you're a Division I official, you can go from Boston to Los Angeles. It's no big deal when you're making $3,200 a basketball game. You know what I mean? And there's a lot of expenses that are paid as well, including per diems. But at the Division II and the Division III level, now it falls way over the net. Now you're dealing with, somewhere in the vicinity of $180 to $230, $40 per basketball game. So now there's not a lot of money. So do I take Randy, Randy, do I take you and send you all the way to Bangor, Maine, from down in the city? And you say, am I going to take that hike? It's going to cost me more money in gas just to get there than I'll get for the game fee. So you do have to be strategic in your assigning. I could go on and on. I don't want to, Bernard, if you want me to continue, I can certainly continue going on, but I don't want to just gobble up all your time if you have other things you want to discuss here.
No, I think, Larry, that you have given us a great overview. My whole goal was to allow the body that's here and the words that they can pass to other officials, that we have resources and a network, that we're going out doing our best. We have some officials, and Tommy and Asia is one of my guys too that I sent up to Hoop Mountain, that we got Tom getting ready to come on and speak as well. I will actually come back to you, Larry, in a minute, but let me just introduce Tom O'Connor. Tom O'Connor is another special guest to us. Tom O'Connor was the executive director with Jim Burr, gave me an opportunity to work for him. And I was up at Hoop Mountain myself as an observer for about 15 years. And through Tom's knowledge and his experience and all the fellow officials that I work with, gave me an opportunity. And I like to bring it back to the board, as I'm doing now, to make sure that we can take that extension and bring that extension to the local boards here to get that, filtering back up there, because it looked like we lost a little bit. So Tom O'Connor, with further ado, would you please say a few words, tell us about what's going on, and a little bit, Tom is the executive director for CBOA. So Tom, go ahead.
Bernard, thank you very much. It's a pleasure to speak to everybody this evening. I did first meet Bernard quite a few years ago up at Hoop Mountain, which I'm very proud to say we had a lot of top officials come through. Was in existence for 25 years. The CBOA, which I'm the executive director, I also want to mention, was established in 1948 in the 72nd year.
You went mute, Tom.
Tom, you're cut off. Let me see what's up.
Just muted myself. Can you
There
hear
you
me
go.
now? All right. And one of the things that we decided to do
Tom, you're cutting yourself off.
Tom, you better square this away or Bernard's never going to bring you back on any of these calls again.
Go ahead, Tom. Turn it on. You're muted. For some reason, you're.
No, Tom, we can't hear you now. You can kind of lip sync this if you'd like.
All we got to do, look, Larry, all we got to do is tell him that the Yankees beat Boston.
Again, I know, believe me.
And that'll get him going.
Yeah.
No, it's not working, Tom.
He's using, I'm with Tommy a lot. I understand what's going on here. It's not going to happen, Tom.
Oh, hey, Tom, you want to do me a favor? Would you just sign completely out and then sign back in?
And I can do that.
Yeah, we can hear you now.
I'm coming back in.
Just leave yourself with the video off and then just speak. I think that works.
Yeah, he has low bandwidth. His bandwidth problem.
Okay, you can go ahead and speak, Tom.
Thank you very much. So basically what we did with CBOA is we expanded and joined forces, which I'm proud to say, an organization that is proudly displayed behind Bernard, and that is IBO. IBO has been a training group for probably over 90 years, and CBOA has been around 70 years. And the reason I mention those two groups together is because I think all of us on this are connected through IBO. I know it's a strong organization in New England, and also CBOA joined with them to show that there's a region to go or an alleyway to go up as far as joining in high school, JV, freshman, varsity, right into junior college, into college, and there is a transition period if you want to follow that period up. One of the other things we've also expanded to is into the women's area. We've created this organization or been affiliated, didn't create it, with a group with Kerry Donahue, some might be familiar, and Jim Grillo, with a group called WICBO, and we are joining forces with them. And when I say joining forces, we're all here tonight on one general consensus, and that is to make the game of basketball better for us having been in it. And one of the things I want to wrap up and be sure to mention that Larry wasn't so strong on is that Larry controls 9 conferences, if you think of it. 9 conferences. He controls all the conferences in New England in Division III, and also all the junior college in Division III in New England. So he's been allowed me to assist him with some of that assigning. I'm very glad to be of some help. And hopefully down the road, the organizations will help regionally and move people along. I think it's been a big asset in the last few years that these assigners are all working together. And as Larry said earlier, there are no regional boundaries anymore. If you're a good official and you want to move up the ladder, there are opportunities and there are people that would be glad to help you move. And then it's abilities to be able to move and get extended. That's really basic. I just want to see and appreciate the opportunity to come on. I apologize for ineptness here, but I'm getting better at this. The more I come on Zoom, I'm getting a little better. So thank you for the opportunity, Bernard. I'll turn it back to you.
Thank you so much. And we want you to hang out with us for a little while, you and Larry, because we have our board president, our board 42 is on, and then we have a couple of alumnus. Nappy, Mike Napolitano is on as well, who was a Hoop Mountain alumnus as well, and he's on the educational committee. So I want to first introduce Mike Howard as our president of board 42. Say a few words and a thank you for our guests.
Good evening, everyone. First and foremost, the participants, this would not work without you. But greater than that, the guest speakers, Steve, the financial information on PPP for referees, believe me, it's no longer just get the ball and throw it up in the air. A lot has changed, and your information tonight was truly appreciated. Let me say, Larry, I'm a former official and I spent time in a lot of basketball camps. I've never got the transparency that you spoke about tonight. And I really appreciate, you go to camps and, it's, where's your check? Where's your check? We didn't get the other part of your check, but you don't get the full detail. So I thank you for the transparency. And I mean, you covered so many aspects that I've been to camps. Oh, back in the days, I've been 1 year, 5 years in a row to a camp and never knew, what was really going on. The competition wasn't the best, but you're supposed to be on your A game. So thank you very much on that. I just want to say that I'm hoping we can springboard off this board 42, where we know we have some officials there who can make it to that Division I level. We hope that guys continue to participate in this. And when we send you to the camp, just make sure your shoes are shine, your pants fit, and go in there with the proper attitude because you're going to represent us. Thank you very much.
Always, Mike. Thank you. Nap, how are you, sir?
Good evening. Good evening.
Say hello. Say hello to Tom.
Tom O'Connor. We go way back.
Mr. Napolitano, good evening. Nice to see you again.
Same here, Tom. Good to hear your voice.
Thank you.
It was a pleasure working with you for the 10 or so years in the CBOA. I learned a lot from you. Thanks for all those years and the times at the camp. You ran one of the best camps around, so I really appreciate that. And Larry, I really haven't had the pleasure of meeting you, but your camp sounds like the type of camp that we want to send our campers to, from our board. So we're looking forward to doing that. And it's really great to be part of this organization and being on the committee and hearing all these great stories from everyone. So thank you for everyone for chiming in, and we'll take it from there. Thanks for your time.
Thank you, Mike. We got another alumnus, Dennis West.
How you doing, Bernard? I want to thank all the presenters. I've attended Hoop Mountain. I am part of the CBOA. How you doing, Tom?
Yes, Dennis, thank you for your support and support of the camp too. Thank you very much.
Not a problem. Hoop Mountain was probably the best camp that I ever attended because I learned a lot. I went back when Jim Burr ran the camp. It was very educational. We had good classroom sessions, and you got some good work in too, because they had pretty good competition there. So all the new guys, I just want you to continue to learn and to listen and take the advice of the guys like us who've been there before and run with it, man. Take it, and you'll be able to move along the ranks. As you go, you'll learn, and you continue to progress in the profession. I want to thank you, Bernard, for the time this evening. I'm sorry there's no basketball, but hopefully soon we'll at least get some summer basketball in.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. We have one more alumnus, Joe Thompson.
Good evening, everyone. I apologize for being late, but I had another Zoom call that was work-related. I had the pleasure of attending Hoop Mountain and was voted best camper one year. I don't remember exactly the year. I think it may have been 07. And I was even more delighted when Tom O'Connor handed me a check back for $100.
Thanks, Joe. Thank you for your attendance and support. You're a great kid. Thank you.
It's good to finally see Larry last. We appreciate the information. I think Mike Howard expressed it best, as well as Dennis and Nappy, that this is a platform for our young officials to get serious, contemporary training in what you need to know and how to perform as a collegiate official. So Bernard, just thanks for having me. It's good to see Tom. Larry, it's nice to meet you as well. Best of luck to everyone.
Thanks, Joe.
Same here, Joe.
Yeah. Hey, guys, did I miss anyone who attended? Zach, didn't you go up to Larry's camp? Zach Murphy.
Hey, Bernard, how's everything? I didn't, but I had registered for it last year for the camp that was supposed to be held in April.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I could say right now that you are one of those individuals, and I'll say it out loud, that have a lot of potential, and Larry's going to love to see you when you get up there.
Looking forward to seeing you, Zach. Thank you, I appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Lindell, that
hopefully
goes for you. Robert Chin, that goes for you as well. We have a lot of officials that got a lot of potential, and the steps that you have to take, these are the steps and these are the networks that you got to utilize in order to reach some of the goals that you're looking to get into. And as much as I can facilitate those, and Larry knows if I'm available, I'm going to be there. And if I have to make the commitment because you're making the commitment, I will definitely be there. Larry and I spoke about that earlier this week. Forward to participating with some of the camps and making sure that we represent with that goal of becoming better officials and looking to reach some of the goals or the games that we choose to want to work because we worked hard at getting there. Is there any questions that someone would like to ask? One of the questions I have, so please put them in the chat. One of the questions I have, Tom, is can you tell us a little bit about what does it take to join CBOA?
Bernard, thank you very much. Right now, the membership is open. And if you are a member of IBO, which it seems that a lot of those members are on 42, it's almost a straight membership right into CBOA, because what we're doing with the two organizations joining together was CBOA has expanded into some of the regions that IBO doesn't exist. And for the regions where IBO does exist, CBOA are joining forces together to share its membership. So it's an open membership. And application, the benefits are listed online. If you have any questions, I'll be glad to talk to them about. And as I say, our fee has not gone up in over 30 years, which is something we've been very proud. My predecessor, Tom Lopes, and myself have been able to keep the fee low to $50 membership and for what's offered, I think it's a worthwhile investment. But most of the Larry and Timmy and Jack Sweeney strongly recommend that the membership join CBOA just for their reasons, because as you know, assigning, and I'm sure even there's that you assigned, Bernard, one of the big words today is liability, and people want to know that the officials, when they step on the court, have some form of liability coverage. And that is something that we've been able to step up and be able to support with our membership. Besides what we're reaching out now, what we're trying to do now is the educational part in advancement, and let people know how they can advance through some legitimate camps. And one last thing I want to add is when Bernard, it's very nice to see a lot of the people that have come to Hoop Mountain. And besides what happened on the court, I like to think that socially up at the camp, we always had a good time as far as socializing. And I can personally, honestly say that I enjoyed meeting everybody, but not always brought that camper of the session. We're in a little different venue, but the same people with the same philosophy, and that is to make the game of basketball better for the people that and show them a way that they can advance. Bernard, thank you for the opportunity for me to speak to you people tonight.
Absolutely. We got one question for Larry. Can you touch on the categories that go into the 5 points rating system for each official at your camp?
That's a great question, Bernard, whoever posed that. One of the things about how I like to conduct the rating, it's not rating somebody from 1 to 5. It's literally beautiful girl comes into the room. Okay, they just an observer, a coordinator, somebody that's looking at you. The one thing that the eye of those people that you're trying to impress is your mechanics and how you conduct. You should always want to keep that in mind first, because there are many officials, in my opinion, that in some cases get away with not being great play callers. They're just great mechanically. They look like greyhounds and they can run well. Now, I'm not saying that's true of everybody. I'm kind of exaggerating a point, but this is going to the ratings question, Bernard, is, I don't want somebody to rate an official exclusively on their mechanical ability. I'm looking for people, they know that I'm looking for an official that has good mechanics, number one, conducts himself professionally on the floor, is a good partner, how they cooperate with their partners. Are they consistent play callers? In other words, if you and I are working, Bernard, together, and I'm calling hand checks all over the place and y'all letting them play a little more, there's inconsistency there. It doesn't mean I'm right, doesn't mean you're wrong, and vice versa. So I'm looking for officials that know how to work well together. But the thing where I've gotten to and what I look for an official too, is I am looking for play calling ability. Those officials that really know what is a foul and what isn't. You know, what is acceptable, what isn't. You know, there is a lot that goes into the ratings process. I told you that every official, every observer has their own rating system. That's why I use an average system. I try to compile everybody. You know, Tommy and I, and Tommy, of course, is, you know, works with me on the New England College officiating staff. I mean, aside from our friendship, it's really more my tremendous respect for him. No one's worn more hats and done more, in my humble opinion, for basketball, certainly. Five, 5-0. And another observer may have Zach at a 4.2 and another one at a 3.7 all around, but they average out. If you allow one observer to control, like, for example, the thing I'm always concerned about, Bernard, when you come to camp, I would be, you know, one thing, and this goes true to every observer I have. I say, Bernard, I know you're going to be looking at the guys that are coming up from your area that may be on your board and you're going to have a shine for. Please don't rate them with any more. Try to be objective. Don't give them high marks, but that comes into play. Human nature is you may rate your people higher. That's just human nature. I have to take that into account and try to realize that you want as many people looking at an official personally as possible. You know, the old ratings process, I thought, was very, very slanted, you know, and so this is my way of trying to put that integrity into every official, you know, and know that, hey, listen, with the ratings, if Zach comes to camp and he goes, geez, Larry, you know, because I want to hear back from guys, you know, he goes, you know, I thought I had a pretty good camp, but I didn't get picked. Where was I? I said, Zach, let me show you exactly. I'll give you an example here because I had one in front of me. This you guys can't see, but see this, if you can see this here, this is the ratings evaluation, every single official that came to camp. We didn't have one last year, so this is the year before. Up here in green, those were the top. I took on that year. You can see in green, here's this overall, okay, by over 18 different observers, okay, at a 4.24. That was his average. Okay, the next official was one of your guys, Lavelle Cannon, tremendous camp. Personally, I loved him too, but so did a lot of other people. 19 various observers rated him at a 4.1, and Lavelle is on my staff. He was hired that year, okay? Here's Max Olivier, another one. Now, these were two of your guys in the New York area that were number 2 and 3 at camp. And I will tell you, there were over 72 of their peers. So they weren't like 1, 2, or 3 in a group of about 10 or 20. There were 72 officials at that camp, okay? You know, that's just the prospects, I call them, everybody that comes. If you, for example, let's say Dennis West comes to camp, and Dennis wants to come to camp. All right, whether he wants to or not, but himself some exposure, exposing himself to a camp with some different philosophical influences and working on his game, to camp and getting some word of mouth from people. That's why, Bernard, I have people like you and high school people coming in too. Help Dennis maybe with his high school schedule, you know. So there's a lot that goes into the camp. There's a lot of thought that goes into it. the benefit if Tommy knew, for example, what he knows now, Hoop Mountain would have been, as great a camp as that was, he would have probably kind of injected some new philosophies in it, because we've learned, I got the benefit of learning so much over time from going to so many different camps, hearing officials, seeing the things that personally mattered to me. And what matters to me is transparency. Mike Howard or Zach Murphy or Dennis or Will or anybody calls, says, Larry, where was I at? And I just go in here and I just go to it. And I said, well, Mike, and there was a guy here that was very good. He was on Mike Stevens' staff, but he didn't rate well enough to be on mine. And that doesn't mean he's not a good official. It's just that the process was he just didn't rate well. And I have to tell him, you know what I mean? Here's what it was. And I explain every rating. I explain the number of games he won. I show him against his peers. So I think officials appreciate that. I would like, like I said earlier, this is a camp built on integrity. It's trying to find, I've had and I looked too, the other thing I wanted to end on, because here I go again rambling to you. But the other thing I wanted to show you is the number of officials I've hired. I keep, what I do is I keep a rating each year of, or I should say, a spreadsheet of the number of officials I've taken onto my staff since 2008. And I've hired in New England. Now remember, there's 175 officials presently on the staff. I've been assigning since 2009. Okay, I came on in 2008. I've hired 142 officials in those years. 142. Now, that number would be higher. Keep in mind, last year, I couldn't hire anybody because there was no camp. There was COVID hit us. I remember where me and Tommy were last year. And they shut down the tournament and all things stopped. As you know, I don't need to tell you fellas, basketball stopped in our world. And with that said, we didn't need to bring anybody on because things had stopped. And I was going to have to wait to go through our process again. I wasn't going to take anybody. I wasn't going to take an end run and bring somebody in without going through the process that Max Olivier and Lavelle and everybody else went through. So, I hope that helps, Bernard. I don't know if it answers your question. The ratings.
That does. We have a couple of more that I want to run at you right quick. And I know the answer. I just want you to talk a little bit about it. How many games in a day do you conduct per day at the camp? Or official could be
at the camp?
Yeah. Well, how many you expect a camper to do?
I'm going to say the number of games an official works. There are some officials, as I mentioned, that based on their availability, I try to accommodate all officials. So every official that's available will work as often as they want to. The average on a day would probably be, I would say the average is probably 5, 6. It could be 3 if in fact an official just didn't want, wasn't available for the evening sessions. But we try to spread it out a little bit. Oh, the other thing I want to tell you about this camp is when you go, and this is again this is the things that matter to me. When I send, Zach and Dennis and Will into they come to camp and they're assigned a game. They're working a game together. There is no coming out. They're working from start to finish. There's nobody coming in between. You know that how they, sometimes camps, you go in and work a half, the other guy will work the other half. I want to see them work together over a body of work, over an entire basketball game. Okay, and now the second half. So if you can imagine, just in the first half, it wasn't helpful, it just wasn't a lot of decision to make. I don't know how fair that is to Zach, or how fair it's going to be to somebody who takes Zach's place in the second half. And now the second half is a war. It's there's a lot of stuff going on. And so that official that's gone in is dealing with a lot more. So I try to take into account that if you rate an official, anyone can walk through a basketball game and nobody's yelling at you, not a lot going on. Anybody that can't do that shouldn't be doing this. I want to judge people, in various situations, even in games there aren't a lot going on. I want to make sure they're able to maintain their concentration and their hustle and so many other things. And you get guys that go to, and just one, crashes at the basket. There's, a lot going on. And so the number of game average day, I would say about 6. That would be, but some work more than that. I will tell you, some want to work more. I'll go in. We have to take into account the possibility of guys being fatigued, injury, heat. I hope I have the opportunity to find a woman that's really deserving of being at the men's level, but it's very hard because the woman actually has got so many obstacles to go through. She has to actually be better than every guy. She has an affiliation here out of the Boston area, and they reached out to me in any basketball game I can serve and beyond that, but she certainly deserved working division. I couldn't believe it that she wasn't working Division I basketball down in the Southeast Conference, but she is now.
Awesome.
And the gal is wonderful, but it is open to all.
Awesome.
And encouraged too.
Absolutely. The one thing that I would like to piggyback with the CBO thing, CBO the $50 fee or membership, I think is something to think about as you, not saying you're a college official, but to be on the board and at that membership, again, from a financial standpoint, it's another business expense, but it gives you the knowledge of the conversation that happens at a CBOA level that you may not get at a local board level. So it's a win-win to be on the board in your local board, and it's also a win-win to be part of the CBOA, just to get that literature, get that information, and be able to grow in the referee community. With that being said, I think tonight has been great. Tom, I really appreciate you.
You're welcome.
Steve, thank you so much for all your feedback. Again, if anyone has any information that they would like to receive regarding PPP, please jump on and email me and I will get that information. I got a special program that I'm trying to do next week, and I want everybody back. And those special guests that we're looking to have, I'm going to be having conversations with them this evening so we can prepare for next week. Larry, thank you so much for all the feedback. I'm looking forward to doing that partnership and building the relationship and the link again, and count me in. I am so happy that you guys took out time to be with us tonight at Board 42 meeting. Again, our prayers go out to Donald Douglas, the Executive Director for PSAL, and Gregory Sanders, Board 42 member. Definitely prayers go out to them. And I'm going to say a prayers to myself. I got my second shot today, and I just made it through this meeting. So I am totally happy and thankful. So God bless everyone.
Once again, first things first. Tom, I was one of those participants at a hoop mountain with a young Board 42, but part of the basketball officiating family. Thank you very much.
of these